Howdy again everyone, and today I'm checking out my first ever Sirui lens, the 24mm Night Walker T1.2. It's part of a set of new, affordable cine lenses with affordable prices, which costs £340 in the UK or $350 in the US, or the set of 3 is $1,000. They come in black or this handsome gunmetal grey colour. They are currently available for Sony E-mount, Canon RF, Fuji X and Micro Four Thirds cameras. They are completely manual lenses, they are not anamorphic lenses, and they offer an APS-C or Super 35 cropped image circle. Here is the coverage if you shoot the 24mm lens on a full frame camera. I'd like to thank Sirui very much for sending me a set of these lenses for testing, although as usual this is a totally independent review. And this particular lens is 24mm, so on a crop camera that's the full frame equivalent of about 36mm, a moderately wide angle and the widest in this set of lenses. That's a useful focal length, and when shooting at T1.2, not only does it let in plenty of light for thirsty camera sensors, it's getting you a nicely out of focus background also, as you can see here. Now the build quality of the lens is really quite nice, metallic and at about 500 grams, not heavy. Its physical dimensions share a lot in common with its 35mm and 55mm brothers, which is done deliberately in order to make the set of 3 lenses easily interchangeable. The lens is based on a metal mount but without any noticeable weather sealing. Then there comes a geared aperture ring. It juts out from the camera mount quite early, so if you're using a very small camera, you might have a little trouble fitting it onto a tripod plate without some kind of adapter. The aperture ring turns smoothly and lightly, but the aperture points are not spaced out evenly. So, for example, trying to change between f8 and f11 is very fiddly to do. Ahead of that comes the geared manual focus ring. It turns a generous 270 degrees, so it has plenty of precision, and it's been designed so you can see the focus distance marked on either side of the lens, but not on top. That focus ring turns smoothly and evenly and quite lightly without any damping. It has hard stops at either end, which make a pretty noisy tapping sound when you hit them. Some damping there to stop that noise while shooting would have been beneficial. Focus breathing on the 24mm lens, as you can see here, is nicely tamed. This is about as good a performance as you're going to get. Each of these lenses has a 67mm filter thread. That thread is surrounded by a thick protective lip on the front edge, which can make it slightly tricky to remove thinner filters. The lens does not come with a hood and is not image stabilized. Overall, while a more expensive cine lens will handle a little better, for example, a more evenly spaced aperture ring and better damping on the focus ring, still, the build quality of this Sirui lens is fine for the money you're paying here. It does feel toughly made, and it certainly looks pretty good aesthetically. Okay, well, let's move on and look at image quality. I'll be testing it today on a Sony a5100 camera with its 24MP APS-C sized sensor. No in-camera corrections are available with this lens. At T1.2, image quality is a bit soft with low contrast. As you move outward through the image frame, sharpness bobs in and out in an uneven manner. It's sharp and then soft in different places. T1.4 is about the same in the corners, but the middle of the image sees a lot more contrast now. At T2, sharpness jumps up to perfection in the middle, but over in the corners we're still only seeing a small improvement. T2.8 sees much better contrast in the corners though, and at T4, image quality is basically razor sharp from corner to corner. The lens stays this sharp down to T11, although T16 sees softness due to diffraction. Overall, this is about the performance I expected to see from a lower budget T1.2 lens. Actually, it's not too bad, I just wish the contrast were better at T1.2. Let's take a look at distortion and vignetting. The lens projects moderately strong barrel distortion and quite heavy vignetting at T1.2. Those corners brighten at T2 and a little more at T2.8, and, well, that's as bright as they get. The lens's minimum focus distance is 30cm, not bad. Unfortunately, close-up image quality is a problem for this lens, and at T1.2 your image is really fairly soft. At T1.4 there's a small improvement in contrast. at T2, image sharpness is acceptable. At T2.8, it's very sharp, but with a touch of purple fringing on contrasting edges. And at T4, we finally get really clean close-up image quality. So, if you want to shoot close up, stop down. Okay, let's see how the lens performs against bright light now. Apart from some haziness around the light source itself, this is a fairly good performance, actually. How about chroma smearing? Even at T1.2, chroma smearing is very low here, just a few errant colours. Stop down to T2 and it's reduced, and at T2.8 it's gone, to be replaced by 12-point sun stars, which get a little more defined when you stop down to T4, but don't get any bigger as you stop down further than this. The lens's bokeh looks lovely and soft to me here. I didn't notice any serious problems in out-of-focus backgrounds. Finally, related to bokeh comes longitudinal chromatic aberration. The force is strong on this one. Just look at those errant colours at T1.2. It's still there at T2, and to some extent even at T4. So that's another weakness. Overall, while I wish it were a bit sharper at T1.2, this lens is actually performing fairly well for the price you're paying. For $350, you're never going to get a premium cine lens here, but this thing will do the job, especially once it's stopped down to T2 or T2.8. So, if you bear in mind its limitations, it does come recommended. Thanks for watching, everyone. Not the first cine lens I've ever tested, but the first Sirui one. Anyway, a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters for their generosity in keeping this channel going. I love putting out extra content and early access videos for them. Check it out in the description below, and ciao for now, everyone.